So this refers to chapter 8 within our workbook, and you can see this particular page right here is 219 in your workbook, and it just goes through some vocabulary that we've already introduced a little bit, but it's a point has no dimension. We represent it with a dot, and it has a capital letter associated with it. A line goes through 2 points. It has one dimension, and it goes on and on forever and ever without end to infinity. Anyway, it can go through any 2 points, can create a line that would go through that. A plane has 2 dimensions. It's like a sheet of paper, except it goes off forever in all directions. It is represented by a shape that kind of looks like a floor or a wall or a table, but it really extends without end. Although any 3, or you can have any 3 points, and if they're not on the same line, then that will be how we identify a particular plane. Like you can see right over here, we can call that plane ABC. You could call it plane BAC. There's lots of different ways we could actually refer to that. And so let's scroll down and take a look at these defined terms down here. Line AB has a special way that we write it, and it's got these arrows on both ends, and it goes through points A and B. You could write that differently. You could actually write it BA if you really wanted to. Here, I'll show you what that could look like. See if my pen works. Okay, so we could actually write it right like this with arrows on it, and the arrows indicate that it is a line, and it goes off forever and ever in 2 directions. It goes through 2 points at a minimum, and that's why we label it with 2 letters like that. A line segment has 2 endpoints, though, and it's written this way with no arrows on it. The endpoints will be A and B, or whatever the letters are that are corresponding to it. A line segment could be embedded within a line, and it's just saying from one point to another point. So array is the next one there. It says we can denote it with 2 letters again, but it needs to be A, B, and the order does matter. For example, if it has an endpoint A and it goes through B, we would call this A, B with an arrow pointing towards the B because it goes through B and keeps going forever and ever. So they are different if they're labeled differently, like this AB versus BA, different. So this one right here would actually be going from B to A, and so we would label it like that. All right. We typically don't point it the other way. We just write it this way. Opposite rays, another vocab word. If point C lies on the line AB, then what we have going on here is it's a full-on line, but we have 3 points on there. We can actually say that there's 2 rays going in opposite directions, starting with that point C, right, like that. So one of them is going this way, and then there's another one that's actually going the other way. And we call these opposite rays if they share the same endpoint, but they actually go in completely opposite directions. Now, it's not an opposite ray if one goes that way and the other one goes, like, say, that way. That's not an opposite ray. Those 2 wouldn't be opposite rays because they're not exactly going 180 degrees away from each other in opposite directions. That kind of concludes our vocab words, and we're going to look at the next video, and we're going to use some of this stuff and be able to answer some questions.